It is Everyday Shenanigans. Thanks for joining me on this warm Sunday in the high 10. God is good. Thank you all so much for joining me. I want to bring you said information pertaining to the Surfside condo, Champlain Towers South, that collapsed 2 weeks ago. And the death toll is rising. Hello, Diamond Dozen. Thanks for joining me. Thank you so much for joining me. I'd like to tell you all that last night I had a discrepancy in my video last night pertaining to Summer Wells. I mentioned that Boy H lived at Stonecrest. He does not live at that said address. I do have the general location of where he lived. That was a discrepancy, so forgive me for that. My notes got mixed up pertaining to Sergeant Lawson working there and the relationship, possibly his interactions with his mother, and I got that mixed up by saying they stayed at that Stonecrest, used to be Model City apartment complex. Forgive me. They do not live at that said location, but they do live in Kingsport. Forgive me for that discrepancy. Thank you. And the next live, hello everybody. How you doing? Hi Didi, how you doing? I'm going to go ahead and get started. I've got 12 viewing. KIRO7 Seattle is the source. Surfside condo collapse, death toll rises to 79, cat reunited with family. The death toll associated with the partial collapse last month of a 12-story condo building in Surfside has risen to 79, Miami-Dade Mayor Daniela Levine Cava said Thursday. The grim recovery mission by crews at the site of the collapsed Champlain Towers South condominium continued Friday afternoon and evening. Okay, this was updated at 7:38 p.m. July 9th. In a tweet, Miami-Dade police identified 4 more victims: Benny Wise, 31, Angela Velasquez, 60, Ilan Nebrief, 21, and Lady Vanessa Luna Valapa. Miami-Dade County Cava, during Friday's evening news conference, at 79 victims have been identified, and 51 of the deceased have been identified to family members. And if you need to go verify the information with the names of the people and the date that they were recovered, you can go to the Miami-Dade Twitter page. Okay. There have been 200 people accounted for, and 61 people still have not been accounted for, Levine Cava told reporters. Levine Cava did say that a cat named Binks, which belonged to a family on the 9th floor of the condominium, was found alive near the site and was reunited with his family. Friday afternoon's update, combined with the 14 people who were announced at a morning news conference, means that 15 bodies have been recovered in the past 24 hours. Heavy machinery continued to scoop large piles of debris off the pile in Surfside as digging entered the third weekend at the site of the collapsed condominium. So far, 47 people have been identified and their families have been notified. The number of missing stands at 62. The mayor added that briefings about the recovery effort will be trimmed from twice a day to once daily at 10 a.m. So if you want to get the latest updates on the recovery of the decedents, it will be at 10 a.m. once a day. An update will be given to the public pertaining to the recovery efforts of Champlain Towers South. As I state, the death toll has risen to 79 as of last night, because this was updated at 7:38 p.m. Friday evening, and it's now Saturday. When I get more information, I'll bring you another update tomorrow, because naturally, there's probably one already uploaded today. I'll come back with another update with the said information. A cat was found at the site, and that cat has been reunited with its family. So right now, as of this last night's report, 79. There may be more today because it is a new day, and I will bring you that said information. KIRO7 is the source. And once again, for those who followed my content last night pertaining to Summer Wells, there was a discrepancy in the video pertaining to Boy H's address. I had it at Stonecrest Apartments. It is not. He does live in Kingsport, but that's not the address. I got the notes crossed over pertaining to Sergeant Lawson and his mother and their interaction, because it was said to me in confidence that Mr. Lawson worked at the said property. So I just assumed the mother stayed there. But once I conferred with the source today, He and the mother lives in Kingsport, but not at Stonecrest Apartments. So excuse the discrepancy. And I do have it posted to my community post. The latest post I put up yesterday, the discrepancy is on that said page. But nonetheless, as far as I know, the information that I brought to you is truthful. But as I state, if there's any change in it, I will correct any information that I bring into my content, no matter what the storyline is. I want to thank you all for joining me. That's the said information so far coming out of Surfside, Florida. I will go back in to see if there's anything else pertaining to this storyline. I know there's been a mention of other buildings. Let me see. There was something else I had wanted to mention pertaining to this. This storyline. And it's pertaining to these the buildings there in Florida. There is something else I wanted to mention. Yes, this was something I wanted to mention pertaining to the buildings. Hello, V. How you doing, sweetheart? Thank you all for joining me. Hope you all are well. The Queen is doing exceptionally well. It's a beautiful day today. This is pertaining to a neighboring building. This was, trying to see when this was uploaded. It doesn't say. This is by ABC News. Residents evacuated from condo can retrieve essential items. Residents of a South Florida condo who were forced to evacuate over concerns about the building's structural integrity will be allowed to return to retrieve essential items on Friday, officials said. North Miami Beach officials ordered the 156-unit Crestview Towers evacuated a week ago following an audit of high-rise buildings 40 years or older. The audit was ordered in response to the collapse of the nearby Champlain Towers South condo complex in Surfside, which killed at least 64 and left 76 people missing in the rubble. Crestview Towers residents will be escorted by a police officer and will have 15 minutes to pick up necessary items, city officials said. On Thursday, city officials reaffirmed the decision to evacuate the building, saying it still hasn't been deemed safe for occupation. The city rejected conclusions from an engineer hired by the condo association that the building is structurally sound. The city released records showing more than $500,000 in fines for illegal construction, electrical problems, and 18 different fire code violations. Officials said the building must stay unoccupied until the condo association submits a new 40-year recertification report that addresses all structural and electrical issues. The building is about 5 miles, 8 kilometers from the site of the condo in Surfside, which collapsed on June 24th. The audit found that Crestview Towers was built in 1972, had been deemed unsafe in January, officials said. In documents presented to the city by the condo officials on Monday, surveys by an engineering firm and an electrical engineer concluded the building's integrity has not been compromised by structural deficiencies. The problems were outlined in the 40-year certification review the association filed in January, according to the city officials. An engineer retained by the board in January had concluded the building was structurally and electrically unsafe for occupancy. The city said it rejected the condo association's response because the documents didn't comply with the 40-year certification process or address the issues raised in January. It is the only building so far to be evacuated since municipal officials in South Florida and statewide began scrutinizing older high-rises to ensure that substantial structural problems are not being ignored. This set of information is by ABC News. So a neighboring building in North Miami Beach, which is Crestview Towers, it houses 156 units. It is older than 40 years old. An audit was ordered for this building because it obviously has some issues, and the city ordered the residents 15 minutes with an escorted officer to get their items out of the said building. So these people at Crestview Towers can no longer stay in the building until they get a new evaluation on the building. The building court records show, city records rather, show that it had $500,000 in fines for illegal construction, electrical problems, and 18 different fire code violations. So it says the building has to be unoccupied until the condo association submits a new 40-year recertification report that addresses all structural and electrical issues. This building sits 5 miles from Surfside, Champlain Towers South. And this building was built in 1972 and had been deemed unsafe in January, officials said. And let's see what else. So they had the building surveyed by an engineering firm, and an electrical engineer concluded the building's integrity has not been compromised, but there were problems outlined in the 40-year certification review filed in January, and officials are not signing on. So this building has to be reevaluated, and I think that's a good thing because we have one building now that housed 137 people. It's now down to rubble, concrete, and iron, and dead people mixed in with those said items, which is horrific. You've never heard of a skybox, whether it was 12 stories, 60 stories, falling to the ground, except for the 2 buildings that were taken down by terrorists on 9/11. So now many people who live in coastal areas will possibly be leery of their said structure because now they're going to wonder, am I in sinking sand in this skybox? And the scary part of that is 12 stories is high. I've lived in a skybox that was only 5 stories, and it was pretty tall on the 5th floor. Trust me, if you jumped off, you probably wouldn't survive because someone once fell from a balcony, and I don't even believe it was the 5th floor, and they didn't live. So I don't think he probably lived even from 5 floors up. So imagine 12 stories up, falling to the ground. Now imagine 30 flights up, 60 flights up. You are in dire shape if the building starts to crumble and you're inside of the said structure. So I'm praying that all structures built on sand, swamp, will be getting their recertification papers in order, getting appropriate people to check the buildings to make sure they don't have any fire codes, electrical problems, structural problems, cracks in the building, spalling, whatever they call it, because this is the most, as I said, horrific event since 9/11 to see a box that was nowhere near the size of the Twin Towers come down, the front of the facade fall down, and then the rest of the building was still standing, and it was scary just to see that that building was still standing, and first responders were out there working and picking through that concrete and iron trying to retrieve people. And I don't really think people understood the danger of those citizens out there rambling in that rubble trying to retrieve people out of there. That building could have fallen all the way down at any time while they were in there trying to retrieve victims, alive or deceased. And sadly, these people could not come to an agreement that lived in the building and the condo association on amount of money to spend to rehab the building. So here you have a 40-year structure teetering, sinking into the ground. Nobody knew it was sinking. At least the residents didn't know. I don't assume they did. And they're going back and forth, trying to come to a conclusion on what to do with the building as far as expenses, setting a budget, approving a budget, and all along while they're sitting there going back and forth over a budget, the building was sinking into the sand. That's a horrific thing to think about because this information has already been relayed to the public. So it's not a secret that they were going back and forth on a budget. And $15 million was just approved to rehab the building in April. And now you have a building that has fallen to the ground near the end of June. So 3 years of going back and forth. An approval came months ago, and now the building is down to rubble. You can't get no more messed up than that. So I'm sure many people that's living in that general area are concerned for their safety. And if they're not, they're crazy. And there's nothing wrong with wanting a view of the water, having a view of the beach, living near the beach. Because a lot of people want to live near the beach, the water, if they can afford it. Live near the lake. Live near the ocean. I get it. But at what price are you going to pay for your livelihood? because I don't think many people gave it a thought that living in a skybox on top of sand, that the damn building would cave in. Who walks around thinking about that? So my prayers are for anybody living in a skybox on sand near the ocean. Because if this building can fall, any other structure in the same time frame of a 40-year span can also have the same capacity to do the same. And who's to say that a newer structure could not also sink down into the ground? What would be the difference? Because we can argue all day about supplies, building products, parts. The parts were old, this and that. Well, most buildings in America are old, and they stand taller than 12 feet. So that should tell you something. The Empire State Building is built with old parts. The old Sears Tower building was built with old parts. Most of the buildings in New York City, those are all old parts buildings, standing 5 floors, 6 floors. Chicago is filled with 3 flat buildings, 2 flat buildings. They are all old buildings, all old brick, concrete. Same game. Same game. But when you see a crack inside of your own home, apartment, that means the building, apartment, house you are in is structurally unsound, and you have to call in officials to set your house, apartment back right. Because eventually the building will separate from itself. I think most people know that. And then the house foundation will be lopsided. The floor will not be even. The walls will not be even. And then that will bring in possibly water, heat, cold, bugs, vermin, all of the above. Because now the building has cracks in it. So prayers for the families of the decedents. Prayers for our first responders who are down there working diligently to get the place cleaned up and to retrieve the decedents out of the rubble. Thank you for the people who came from other states and locales to help out. God bless all of you. And I pray for your safety. And a lot of people don't know that several of the people who went in to this rubble day one caught COVID-19. Now, did they catch it because one person had it and they were all working close with one another? I don't know. Or hell, was COVID-19 already in the structure itself? I do not know. But that was one of the issues that came up, I believe, a week ago, that several members of the search team had contracted COVID-19, for those of you who did not know that. So thank you all so much for tuning in to my information pertaining to Champlain Towers South. I'm praying for those who didn't make it. I'm praying for their families, their children, their relatives, their neighbors, their friends. Children even died in this horrific event. People are people. Doesn't matter if they're a child, if they're an adult, it's human life. And as I state, it's sad that these people couldn't have come to an agreement on the budget years ago, and perhaps no one would have lost their life June 24th. Once again, discrepancy in my Summer Wells video last night of Boy H and Mom. I misspoke saying they live at Stonecrest Apartments. They do not, but they do live in Kingsport. I wanted to make that clear. When I go live again pertaining to Summer Wells, I will mention the discrepancy again. I do have it posted to my last post pertaining to Summer Wells on my community post. The last video I uploaded yesterday, I did I pinned the comment. So I misspoke saying where he and his mother lived. They do not live at Stonecrest Apartments, but they do live in Kingsport. So the rest of the information, to my knowledge, is factual as far as timeline of this location to that location, all through Google, how far this place is to that place. Any other information I get, I will share it with you pertaining to this case of the disappearance of Summer Wells. I don't have any new updates because I have to be very careful what's been told to me. A lot of things can't be repeated just yet due to the fact that the safety of other people, because there are other people involved in this case. And you also have a child to be responsible for We don't want anything happening to that child because he's caught a lot of scrutiny by uploaded content to TikTok, and a mother who can't keep her mouth closed. And I don't want anything coming to befall the child, because the child, he's just as important as Summer, because we have yet to get a timeline if he knows more. So we don't know that yet. And as it was told to me, the child has been threatened, boy H. So we like to be careful with the content that we put out about him. But see, people don't think when they're uploading things to social media how it will affect other people. And now this boy has been immersed into a case of a missing child. So this is dire, and it's jacked up, and it's messed up. Okay, thank you. It's a very serious situation with this child. As most of you know, I told you, a lot of content keeps coming up this week pertaining to Summer Wells. I don't know what's going on, but like I said, I feel like there's a pot boiling on the stove, and it's boiling over the water, because every day there's an upload of content pertaining to this child. There is a news update every day, I believe, since I opened my eyes this week. And every time I go on my phone, there's a new notification, a new article, which I find very interesting, that there continues to be uploaded content pertaining to this child, yet no developments as far as a suspect, location of the child, any pertinent information. Just, we're working on it. We're working diligently. That's all you're getting. And it just seems odd that day for day, as I had suspected, there keeps being uploaded content as far as we're working on it, but there's no information. That leads me to think there's something going on in the case, Summer Wells. When I get more information, I will bring it to you. I may go live later pertaining to the story, because now so far I've brought you 4 different lies spun by the bio donor pertaining to the child. And I find it interesting that every content that I've brought, which was a news source, not gossip, there is a different version in every news article. And that to me is baffling, and it's suspect to me. Maybe not to somebody else, but to me. Once again, Champlain Towers, South, death toll at 79 as of yesterday evening. If I get information that there is more people that have passed away, I will bring you that said information. As I say, this is a baffling story. And oh, Lord have mercy. It's just it's out of control. This story here, just out of control. I'm going through my notes just to see if there's anything else. My Google, to see if there's anything else pertaining to an update. Let me see. I'm going to put something else in here. Hold on one second. Just in case there's another update before I get off. Hope you all are well out there. It's very warm here in the high 10. Too warm. Let me see if I see anything else before I check out of here. Hello, Crystal. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much. Say what, Missy? That's a great word, Queen, for this stuff. What is it, honey? See, now I'm looking at content that shows a video showing, this is by the Miami Herald, cracks, puddles in condo garage a year before it collapsed, but no red flag. Yeah, but there's no way a garage should be leaking water. That maintenance man already told people that anyway, that the place would flood. Okay, so there is a new update. Hold on one second. I should have did this before I went on. Hold on one second. I'm gonna try to find the latest story. Thank you. 4 hours. This is just a horrible situation. Okay, I have another update. I keep remembering I have to go back in every time before I go live because you never know what's going to be uploaded from the last time you've checked. So here's a new update. Hold on 1 second. Yeah, Lord have mercy. This is from 4 hours ago. CNN. So I'm going to have to change the title. The death toll now has risen to 86, and the team is battling inclement weather at Surfside. The death toll for Surfside, Florida is at 86, so that's a discrepancy. Starting off with my video at 79. Okay, I have to change the title. Efforts were briefly halted after lightning strike, officials said. Search teams have been recovering victims more quickly now that a portion of the tower that remains standing was demolished and is no longer a threat to collapse, according to Florida Fire Marshal and Chief Financial Officer Jimmy Petronis. On Monday, a day after the demolition of the standing portion of Champlain Tower South, the death toll stood at 28. The building partially collapsed on June 24th. Miami-Dade County Cava said in a news conference, 62 of the 86 victims have been identified and 61 next of kin notified, with 211 people accounted for and 43 others potentially unaccounted for, according to the mayor. Authorities have been cross-referencing names from a list of residents with U.S. Postal Service and driver's license information, Ms. Cava says. We can only truly account for a missing person who is deceased once an identification is made, the mayor said. 10 additional victims have been identified, according to a Miami-Dade Police Department statement. These are the other people now identified. Nicole Langsfield, 26. Miguel Pazos, 55. Richard Roverosa, 60. Arresme Gil Guerra, 60. Anna Mora, 70. Alina Chavez, 87. Alina Blasser, 64. And Marina Restrepo Azen, 76. Two other victims, ages 5 and 44, were not publicly identified at the request of family, according to the statement. Now, efforts were halted because of a lightning strike. Crews at the site paused their work briefly Saturday morning because of lightning, but recovery efforts resumed within an hour, Levine Cava said. And this is the mayor speaking. The work will continue despite rain that is expected throughout the day. Miami-Dade Fire Rescue Department Chief Alan Kaminsky said the timeline for completion of recovery efforts was 14 to 21 days. Surfside Mayor Charles Burkett said crews removing rubble from the recently demolished section of the building may complete their work a lot sooner than many expected. Burkett described the progress in removing debris as intense, saying much of the original pile is at ground level or below. The city is setting up a fund for downtown businesses affected by recovery efforts, Burkett said. Patrons said the crews are paying the same attention to the importance of the task. One thing I can assure you is the dogs are still on the site. The infrared equipment is still being used. The cameras are still being used. The task forces that are here are the same levels of skills that were here with FEMA task forces, he said. They're all still working. What's happening right now is no different than 5 days ago. In an interview with CNN, Chief Nicole Nutt of the Florida Task Force 2 said there has been an emotional toll for all the workers. I feel like I'm physically digging, but I'm also emotionally digging for more strength to continue, she said. Meanwhile, officials have turned more of their attention to the investigation and ensuring other structures in the area are safe. Experts have already begun their investigation by examining Champlain Towers North, a sister building that is substantially the same as the building that came down, Burkett said. We have been in there several times now. We have taken out samples. We've done the ground penetrating radar. We're trying to determine the amount of steel, thickness of the slabs. So we're trying to compile all that information and see exactly if there is some indication of weakness, Burkett told CNN on Friday. I talked to the engineer today, and he's ready to make a determination as soon as he gets results back and let the residents of that building know whether he feels they're safe or not. The North Towers building was evacuated for safety concerns. Burkett said he urged other condo board members in the area to inspect their structure. We've given them a series of boxes to check in order to make sure that their buildings are safe as they can be, given especially we don't know why this building fell down, Burkett said. Petronas said that he thinks it's important for investigators to compare North and South Champlain Towers. I've advised them to pull the minutes of the Champlain Towers North Board over the last 40 years and compare it to the minutes of South and see if both boards have made the same investments over the past 40 years. Employees in a local government building have been advised to work from home for safety reasons. All staff at the Miami-Dade County Courthouse were directed to immediately begin a work-from-home protocol on Friday following safety concerns revealed in the engineer's report of the building, according to a statement from local officials. Okay, let's see. Okay, and then there's other information about two sisters being buried together, a newlywed couple, and a 60-year-old love story pertaining to people in that information, because there's a lot of people who have passed away in this Champlain South Tower South. The report found safety issues with various floors and recommended floors 16 and above be closed to staff while repairs are completed. Kava says. Circuit Court Chief Judge Lucian G. Safey and Clerk of Courts Harvey Rubin said in a joint statement. Following this report, we are taking all necessary precautions and directing all courthouse staff at 73 West Flagler Street to work from home beginning immediately while the repairs can be completed, Miami-Dade officials said in a statement. Over the last year throughout the pandemic, all courthouse staff was already working remotely and only recently returned to the building, and we are moving quickly to reactivate our remote work plan. Last week, residents at Crestview Towers in North Miami Beach, as I stated to you all a little while ago in this article, were also asked to evacuate after a report determined the condo building was structurally and electrically unsafe based on a delinquent recertification report for the almost 50-year-old building, City Manager Arthur H. Sorey III previously said. Okay, just a little more. Alan Kilsheimer, a structural engineer hired by the town of Surfside to investigate the collapse, took CNN on a tour of Champlain Tours North on Friday. Kilsheimer said his team has been at the North Tower for 2 days using ground-penetrating radar to check the thickness of the concrete and collecting samples. Kilsheimer said he has not seen anything that concerns him. The thing that I'm looking for is anything that would warn me to get people out of the building, he said. I've not seen anything like that at this point in time. Other buildings in the area will soon receive letters from the mayor advising them to take the necessary steps to assure residents their buildings are safe, according to the copy of the letter obtained by CNN. Regardless of the age of the building, the city is recommending the hiring of an engineer to review structural drawings and review basements, as well as geotechnical engineer to examine the foundation. The recommendations are made in an abundance of caution based on the current status of the investigation, the letter said. They are intended to serve as an interim methodology to afford residents some peace of mind until the forensic investigation progresses further. This is by CNN. So Crestview Towers, a little ways up, has been evacuated for safety, and now North Tower also evacuated. And so far they're saying they don't see anything that would that resembles what happened at Tower South. And the city is saying, regardless of the age of the buildings in the city, they're recommending that each building owner, whomever, or board, hire an engineer to review structural drawings and review basements, as well as a geotechnical engineer to examine the foundation. So this content I brought to you has a discrepancy from yesterday because, as you know, each day there will be a new body count. So instead of 79 people in the rubble, it is now added up to 86. I will change the title to 86. And this is as of Saturday today. They had a lightning strike, so they had halted the efforts, and they have resumed thereafter today. And everyone knows that this building collapsed on June 24th. And when you look at the said information in this article, you will see a view of the building from a little ways out, like on the water. So from a view from the water, it is just, I've never seen, it just looks horrible. To see the facade of a building missing, and then the other side is still standing up. And of course, this is before the city came in and took the whole building down. It is a view unlike any view, because this view you can see boats in the water, sand, then the building, and you can see the front facade missing with some balconies still holding on barely, and then the other side is intact. And that is before they took the entire building down. So the death toll now stands at 86 persons as of 1:53 p.m. today. And it is now almost 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Thank you all for joining me. I may be back on later with more content pertaining to Summer Wells, but I want to thank you all for joining me. As I stated for those listening, there was a discrepancy of where Boy H lived in my content last night. He does not live at Stonecrest. That was a discrepancy, so forgive me for that. I got my notes mixed up in listening to the information about the officer and the mother and the officer working at Stonecrest. I assume that they live there, but they do not. I have an idea of where they do stay, but I won't be revealing that in this any uploaded content due to the fact that there are safety issues pertaining to the child. So we're just going to let that ride because the child is still in Tennessee to my knowledge, and we don't want anything bad happening to the child, Boy H. But I thank you all for joining me. If you want to donate to the channel, $ Big Angie 129 Cash App. All super chats are welcome during the live. Thank you so much, V. Countdown to Louisiana. Yes. One more week. I'm out of here. Thank you, Jesus. God is good. I can't wait to get out of here. I will walk to the airport. Let me tell you. That's how I'm feeling right now. I will walk to the airport. I'll be like the little guy walking with the stick and the bag attached to the stick over his shoulder. That's how the Queen's feeling right now. I am ready to go. Oh my goodness. I can't even begin to explain to you. But I want to thank you all for following me. This month marks 2 years of me uploading content to YouTube, and I became a partner with YouTube last fall. So I want to thank YouTube for the partnership. I want to thank you all for following the content, commenting, liking, not liking, whichsoever. It's all good. It's Gucci. And I'm almost at 7,000 subscribers. So please like, share, and subscribe. Post your comments on my community post. I do have uploaded content pertaining to Summer Wells on my community board. So please push on over there and watch the said uploaded videos from YouTube pertaining to the search for this child. When I get more information, I will bring it to you. Thank you all so much for joining me. This is Everyday Shenanigans. Prayers for first responders, the decedents, and the family members of Champlain Towers South. Amen.